Do you know what palm oil is? Most likely you touch it and consume it every day. It's used chiefly as a conditioning agent in shampoos, as an ingredient in lipstick because it holds colour, it doesn't melt easily and it tastes good, and it's used in soaps to remove dirt and help moisturise. It's something that's also used in ice cream to give it a smooth and creamy texture. It can be used to help pre-cook instant noodles so that all you need to add is a bit of water. It's also used in chocolate to give that shiny, smooth appearance. Basically, palm oil is in about 50% of everything you can buy at the supermarket. It's absolutely everywhere. But where is it grown? Well, palm oil is grown across the equator and 10 degrees north and south of that line. It's harvested and pressed 12 months a year, but its production causes considerable damage to the environment. In my speech, I'll first mention the top palm oil producing nations in the world. I'll then focus on Sumatra. Sumatra is an island in North Indonesia. And then finally, I'll talk about the RSPO, the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil. As I said before, palm oil is a tropical oil. Therefore, it only grows 10 degrees north and south of the equator. Regions around the equator house vast rainforests that are rich in biodiversity. Demand for edible vegetable oils has meant that tropical forests have been burned down around the equator and have been replaced with palm oil plantations. These plantations have expanded in size but also in number. According to statistics released by the RSPO, Indonesia was the first palm oil producing nation in 2013 with a production of 28.4 million tonnes of palm oil. Malaysia followed with 19.2 million tonnes of palm oil. Other nations in the list produced far less. For example, Thailand produced 1.9 million tonnes, Colombia 1 million, and Nigeria 0.9 million. As you'll probably have noticed, Indonesia and Malaysia produced 84% of the world's palm oil last year, and the situation is very similar today. Indonesia and Malaysia are the highest ranking palm oil producing nations in the world. Palm oil production is especially dense in a small island at the far north of Indonesia. This region is called Sumatra. In 2014, the director of WALI, a local environmental organisation, gave an interview for Coconuts TV. He wanted to discuss palm oil production in the region. Apparently, the first forest fires in Sumatra took place in 1997. Then, the fires increased and started taking place every year. In 2014 and 2015, the fires were particularly violent. These fires caused smog, which affected the local population. And according to the local government, 6,000 people are still suffering today from acute breathing problems because of this smog. But how are fires started? Well, canals are created in rainforests, and specifically in peat lands. Peat lands are rainforests made up of decomposed plant matter, or dead vegetation, which has built up over thousands of years. The peat in these lands continues as deep as 20 metres, which means huge amounts of carbon are stored underground. According to Greenpeace, Indonesia's peatlands store 6 times the amount of carbon released by burning fossil fuels every year. So, canals are built and they suck the water out of the peatlands. Drained in this way, the peatlands are turned into tinder. It's then very easy to burn and replace them with palm oil plantations. But there's a problem. Burning forests is very harmful for the environment. It pumps CO2 into the atmosphere. This destroys the habitats of endangered species such as the Sumatran tiger, the Sumatran rhinoceros, and orangutans. What is more, once started, the fires are very difficult to put out. They smoulder for months on end, releasing smoke into the atmosphere. In July 2013, clouds of toxic smoke emanating from Sumatra billowed over Singapore and Malaysia. The haze was so thick that it diverted flights in Singapore, shut down schools and businesses, and seriously threatened Singapore's economy. The government and population in Singapore pointed a finger at Indonesia. The president of Indonesia had to apologise to its neighbour country. But there is a twist. Whilst Indonesia is the greatest producer of palm oil, Singapore actually dominates the palm oil trade. Whilst Indonesia produces palm oil, places like Singapore continue to purchase it locally and distribute it worldwide. Many palm oil corporations actually have their headquarters in Singapore. It's quite an ironic situation. And this is where the RSPO, the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, comes into play. The RSPO was started in 2004. Environmental groups and palm oil corporations decided to sit down together and try to make things better. In order to have a seat at the round table, corporations must pledge to meet certain criteria. They must refrain from clearing virgin rainforests and limit the number of fires. In return, they obtain the Palm Oil RSPO certification. This is a label which appears on products to indicate they have been responsibly produced. Sadly, in the decades since the creation of the RSPO, deforestation has only gotten worse. Critics have accused the RSPO of not enforcing its membership requirements. In 2013, Greenpeace released maps showing that fires had been started in lands owned by RSPO members themselves. At the 2014 meeting, the RSPO acknowledged its shortcomings and promised to expel members that don't enforce rules in the future. Let's hope that they hold this promise. To conclude, I've given you a relatively bleak overview of the social and environmental impacts of palm oil production. Of course, it's easy to lose hope, to look at the production chains and supply chains and state that they are complex and far away, that there is laundering of dirty palm oil all the way up these chains, and that nothing can be done. But I disagree. We can all take measures at an individual level. We can decide no longer to purchase ingredients containing palm oil and also sign petitions online, such as those displayed on the RSPO's website. This should finally bring about more change. Thank you.